Namaste, everyone. We are going to connect with the ancestors in sacredness. So I'm going to share with you a practice of how I connect with my ancestors. So I light the candle of transformation, deep healing, self-love, and prosperity, creativity of the highest excellence. So how I connect with the ancestors is I first drop into myself. I drop in. So I focus the energy on the root chakra. The root chakra. So I place my awareness on the root chakra. And I can even hold my root chakra to ground my energy. And what I do is I visualize roots deep underneath me, that out of my perineum, out of the soles of the feet, I have roots that go deep into this earth, and I visualize these roots of a 12,000-year-old tree. I see these expansive roots, this very complex system. And I breathe into it, and I imagine through the roots there is this ascending energy moving into my heart. So I imagine the nutrients within the soil is gathered through the roots and is ascended up the trunk, which is the spine, right? Or up the raising of the Kundalini, going up the spine, up the Sushmana channel, and begins to settle at the heart. Can even go further up into the brain, even up into the crown chakra. So I imagine this process. So I see myself steady and solid like a tree. I close my eyes, and in the mind's eye, I see the 12,000-year-old tree. We can see the tree of life. And I see my branches above my head, almost I have branches coming out of my crown chakra. Almost my crown chakra is made of bows. And the budding flowers, the leaves, represent the Akashic record, can represent the seed of creation, which can be ideas that are coming into me from the celestial realm. And then I can see myself at the root chakra as the original seed, the seed of my life, the conception of my life. So I can imagine in the root chakra, I have a seed, and imagine the spine is the sort of sprouting of the seed as come into a stem, right? You see the height, the growing height of a stem. And I like to imagine at the top of my head, I have a rose, a bright red rose. So I imagine my stem or the trunk as my spine, the Sushumna channel. And below me is the nutrients, the minerals from the soil, the water that moves, ascends up and also eliminates. I eliminate through the root system. I heal and clear through the elimination process. And then the branches take in the sunlight. So the crown chakra, what is above me, takes in the sunlight. So the light language, light activation, takes in celestial communication from higher dimensions, from other planetary systems, from this the universe. And then everything joins together at the heart. The heart is the center of me. So I feel the ascending and the descending joining at the heart. And the heart is the center of my magnetic fields. The heart is the sacred geometry that transforms my aura into the Da Vinci body, right? The Merkaba of my time-space machine. So I just imagine my closed eyes, my aura. I can see colors. You may see colors. You may see shapes. You may even see the mandala that is your aura, your time-space machine. You may feel a resonance. You may hear sound. You may hear the hum of your time-space machine, like a gong. So imagine your aura like a gong, a giant gong. And imagine your heart is the gong that it plays the gong. So dropping into myself, becoming central, descending, right? From the heavens I descend, and from the soil I ascend. So imagine that celestial communication descending like fallen leaves or petals to budding flowers falling down to the earth. And imagine what is ascending up is the nutrients deep in the soil, the minerals that are gathered through the roots and pushed up the root system all the way up into the crown chakra, all the way through every branch, every leaf. So in connecting with these roots, imagine these roots are to a 12,000, 14,000-year-old tree. And you can imagine yourself as this 12,000, 14,000-year-old tree. And what does that look like to you? You can imagine yourself as this tree, this very thick tree with rings, with numerous rings, inner ring upon inner ring upon inner ring within the trunk of you. And see each ring, the ring, an inner ring, an inner ring, an inner ring, is the many lifetimes of you expressed through the generations of you. And you can see that just like looking at rock throughout time, in rock throughout thousands of years, you can see the different layers. You can see the different layers of rock layered on top of each other, and you can see the different generations of you, and how that has shaped the rock, right? When we look at the stone, we can see the stone, how it has the shape of it, how it has changed over thousands of years, and get to see the different layers of that. You get to see the different layers of you, and how these many generations of you have gone through many different changes. So when I feel that groundedness, I connect with my heart, and I see my heart as an inner child, as wonder and play and imagination and high self-esteem. I imagine my heart like a child playing in the forest. I see that innocence and I surrender to it. And then, as I go further into my heart, I imagine myself taking a bath in this lavender, sort of soft pink energy. And I can even imagine rose quartz or hold rose quartz to really capture the heart frequency. And then I allow the animals, if there are animals that wish to come forward, I allow the animals to come forward. So I may have visions of animals and they're coming to me through the ancestral realm. A lot of the animals are connected to the ancestral realm. So I can just see what kind of animals are wanting to be with me at this time to support this journey. So I'm seeing a black bird, looks like a crow. I'm seeing a crow. So that represents the mystic. We talk about the crow as the mystic. So the animals will also communicate, your ancestors can also communicate through animals, because your ancestors are connected to the earth, the elemental realm. And they're connected to the soil. So they can come through, your ancestors can actually come to you as animals. So the crow is a mystic. There's a mystic in my ancestral line, or many mystics in my ancestral line. I'm also seeing the penguin. So the penguin, I'm seeing this penguin as a symbol of protection, like the protecting against the cold, protecting the egg against the cold. So that is a message as well. And then I will allow more animals to come to me. And now I open my root chakra. I really get in touch with that root chakra. And I really allow it to speak to me. So I can see many ancestors already with me. And I can see the ancestors such as my father, I can see I can see grandmother, I can see even great grandmother, and you may even feel the presence or even see ancestors that you don't even have photos of. You have no idea who they are. You don't know where they come from. They could be ancestors that are many generations back that you, your mother, and your grandmother may not even have a clue who these people are. But surrender to the vision, your intuition. And there will be ancestors that are very, very, very profound for you. They can be like guides to you. So the reality of the ancestors is to help you clear your bloodline. That is the ancestors help you to clear the bloodline. That is also the clearing of karma. So the elimination, they work a lot with the elimination process, which is the eliminating of habits, behaviors, patterns, even DNA sort of sequence that has been carried for many generations. So they really are there to help you reinvent yourself. And ancestors also work with lineage. So if you're trying to refine and rebuild and repair, heal the lineage, which is a lineage of prosperity and creativity, they will help you with that as well. They also work with the raising of the Kundalini. They work with fertility. They work with sexuality, also work with sacredness, and they also work with the good fortune. The ancestors, they also work with protection. So the ancestors have a very protective energy. That's maybe why I saw the penguin seated on its egg, right? There's a sense of protection. There's a sense of a shield. They can give you like this shield, this extra shield around you, right? We think of the fetus and the egg, and then we think of the egg as a shield, but then the fur, or the fur of the penguin, that's basically sitting on top of it, is that kind of pouch, is an extra shield of protection. So it's very much, you can be carried very much by in the pouch of the ancestors, as they can be very helpful when we surrender to them. And there are particular ancestors that work with leadership. There's ancestors that can work with relationships. There's ancestors that work directly with clearing of the past life karma and the karma of your bloodline. Ancestors can work in different ways, but the power of you being alive and connecting with your ancestors, it's basically you can clear on behalf of your ancestors. So you can clear on the behalf of your ancestors. So they are you and you are them very much. So when you clear, even through this practice we're doing now, just through the resonance of this higher vibration, it can clear, it can purify, and you can when you have inner freedom, you give inner freedom to your lineage. So when you have inner freedom and you create that sort of what we call the blue arc line, what we call the gas stove blue frequency, when you create that in your physical body through your active liberation and inner peace, inner freedom, when you create that, you actually set free the creative life force of your ancestors. You set free the psychic gifts, the talents, anything that was suppressed, locked away within your ancestral line. You can actually access that, you can unlock that, and you can retrieve that on behalf of the ancestors that could not, they could not activate it in that life that they were in. For example, maybe that lifetime you could see in their stone, right? It's almost like each ancestor kind of has a stone, and they're kind of all sort of layered on top of each other, and you could see war. You can maybe even see maybe disease, right? Maybe you could see abuse, trauma, curses, these type of things. And when you activate your own inner peace and inner freedom just through this moment of creative expression, you're actually doing that. You're unlocking the gifts of your bloodline and retrieving it and storing it in your body on behalf of your ancestors. So it's very profound. It's a very profound experience. So the ancestors work a lot with inner freedom. Inner freedom is very important to the ancestors, and they will help you with your inner freedom. And your inner freedom, your ancestors are very much connected to the ground. They're very much about dance and movement and expression and self-discovery. They're very much about your dreams, fulfilling your dreams. They're about your healing so that you can be more of who you are. They're really about wish fulfillment. The ancestors are about wish fulfillment. And they work a lot with the clearing of the fate, right? Fated to this. And they work a lot with unlocking your energy so that you can be more creative in this life. So when you work with the ancestors and call upon them or have an altar with photos of your ancestors, basically they're there to help you have more freedom, inner freedom in your life, so that you can really tap into the gifts of your root system, which your root system it has so much knowledge and so much magic that is stored. It just it's received. A lot of times you'll have visions of your ancestor literally handing you something. Like you'll see them hand you like something that's in a basket or something that's in a bowl or in a shell. You'll see them hand you things like a shell or you'll see them hand you something like a feather, or you'll see some sort of like a crow, or you may even have a vision of them watching you, right? Checking in on you. And they're there, like I said, mostly to help you with the clearing of the karma of your past life, but also the ancestral past life. So working a lot with the cleaning and clearing of the bloodline and the lineage. So if you have an intention to refine and improve your lineage, to be more creative, they will come for you and help you. So for myself, I have particular ancestors that I work closely with. And again, some of these ancestors go way back, and the reason I connect with particular ancestors and not others is because these ancestors have obtained a certain liberated state that I am a match to. So you're not a match to every ancestor, but all of them help you. But there's particular ancestors that are like teachers, that are like that have obtained some sort of liberated state in their life. And when you continue to liberate your own life, you'll find that you gravitate towards more ancestors than others. Like, for example, I am connected to this ancestor who is seeing a French woman, a French couple. I feel it's a man-woman, maybe African-American man, a French, and a woman that could be of lighter skin. And they are somewhat musically inclined. I feel like they're in a band together and they're French, like jazz, something like that. This could be very, very much a time, probably maybe in the 20s, something like this. And I connect with them because of their charisma and their self-expression. They really have this beauty and this elegance in the way that they connect with their artistry. And then I have another ancestor who is my great-grandmother, who on my father's side, who she has a lot of strength in her, psychic strength. So she works with the psychic gifts I have, because she was very psychic, and she taught my father the psychic reality. And she teaches me as well since I was a little girl. She was a very kind of a medium, a very very clear medium. And so you will receive it. It will just come as a vision. It'll just come as a knowing. You'll feel it. Even when it comes to the ancestors I have in Spain, there's a resonance there. When it comes to being connected to the earth, I feel like these ancestors could have been working with the land, like agriculture, these type of things. And that is something I'm interested in, right? The cultivating of the land. So again, you could feel these ancestors in their life, right? And you can gain the perspective, the insight that can help you in this life. Because whatever your ancestors experienced, you experience. So if your ancestors lived in Spain and were farmers and had agriculture or a winery, these type of things, that is something you've experienced. So when you go, for example, let's say to a place and you just have this memory of like I just really resonate with this, or you're in a location, right, in some place, and you're like, wow, I really feel something. It can be because you've experienced it through the eyes of your ancestors. Your ancestors have gifted you this experience, and you can access it through the Akashic record. And also with that, you can say the war, the trauma, these curses, but that can be cleared. And that is cleared through the inner freedom, and that is cleared through your personal power, and that is also cleared through the mantra you can clear. And I'll give you all the mantra for particularly the ancestors, creating that sort of blue arc line, that blue flame within you, that blue frequency we talk about, that really can help you clear whatever these sort of patterns are that, you know, we could see as more destructive and that create more discord and these kind of less creative patterns of thought and embody in the embodiment. So the more creative you become in the thoughts and the expression and the view and the perspective, the more that you start to tap into your sovereignty, and the more you really start to instead of being fated because of the ancestors, you become a leader for the ancestors. And that's a very different, a lot of people are just fated. They're just, I'm fated because my ancestors, right? You become a leader when you start to really take sort of ownership, right? This sort of, when you really start to take the ownership of this ancestors and really start to command command the activation. When you start to activate the creative lifeline, the creative force of this ancestral realm, you really start to see knowledge come to you. So what I'm going to do is just chant. And this is an offering. You can see this as an offering. Again, when you put an intention to heal an ancestor, or again, I'll give you also another meditation. When you put this in your own aura, put this in your own vibrating field, that creates so much repair and healing to any ancestor. You might don't even know who needs it, but just you resonating that in the field, in the hall, right? We call the hall of the ancestors. You are you're raising the vibration, raising the status of these ancestors for their future lives, and also the resolving of their past lives and things. Very profound. Okay, so I'm going to chant, and I'm going to chant to the ancestors that I feel around me, because they will come to you, right? But when you continue to raise your vibration, as we do through the mantra, and you continue to have that sort of gas stove blue aura, or that blue arc line, you know, liberate yourself and start to become a virtuous person. You'll start to see there's the ancestors that you're going to attract are going to be more liberated, right? Who are going to have a sort of, they're going to have a lot of wisdom to offer you, right? Not every ancestor has that, right? And that's really what we want. We really want to have ancestors who are smarter than us, who are better than us, right? But we do give respect to all of them, because every experience they've had has led to the shaping of your intelligence, your expression, this embodiment that you have. So giving this sort of chant, this prayer, basically you are retrieving the qualities, right? The good qualities. That's the blessing, is you get the good qualities. We can talk about the bad qualities, but that really is really it's all neutral, right? When we really start to take on this sort of gas stove blue frequency, we see the neutrality, these good qualities, these bad qualities, the challenge, right? And also the kind of what's easy going type of thing. We really see that as a part of our incarnational opportunity to really lead our creative force more dynamically, more expansive, right? So I'm going to inhale and I'm going to begin to chant. A call, a call, a call, a call. So I can imagine like I'm a bird in a tree and I'm just making the sound, and the bird's making the sound to really heal and signal in the change and signal in the sort of liberation. A call, a call, a call, a call. 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 Inhale. Exhale. So just doing that, sort of respectfully giving this to the ancestors, it just really, you're healing these ancestors, and when you give this respectful healing to them, you just feel more healed, right? So here's another meditation. This is something you are doing on behalf of your ancestors. So let's say your ancestors have discord, right? Generations of discord, right? This ancestor hated the father, right? Let's say your father hated his father, and his father's father hated his father, and so on and so forth, right? Or let's say, there's a whole generations of women in your family who are alcoholics, right? Or, you have, history, generations of, childbearing that was, dysfunctional in some way, right? Having a lot of kids and not being able to provide for these kids, and, them all struggling in poverty, these type of things, right? Or let's say there's something like a habit or behavior that, some sort of rage or anger that, you've seen in many generations have led to resentment or these sort of jealousy or whatever this is working with the root chakra, all of that resentment, that jealousy, that anger, that I can't get over this, I hate you forever, whatever that is, that's considered curses, all of that resentment, that never-ending anger, that never-ending cycle of hating the father, and then the father hated his father, or that never-ending cycle of, let's say your father and mother had a dysfunctional relationship, and now you're feeling, your trauma, you have trauma, and you don't know how to have a good relationship, right? So this is something you can do on behalf of your family. So let's say, your parents are still alive and they still hate each other, right? Your mother and your father still have this weird type of, you can tell, like, there's resentment or something, or jealousy, or there's something superficial or something fake, or whatever that is, disharmony. Let's say, the mother is scorned, the father is, he's prideful, or he can't he can't say, he can't forgive, or he doesn't know how, or he has, he's too prideful, whatever it is. You can use this meditation after what we just did to really, on behalf of that, set yourself free, because really it's not about it's about you setting yourself free. It's about inner freedom. That is your greatest act of revolutionizing the ancestors, and setting them free, and also leading your own life, right? So I close my eyes, and again, I'm just focusing on myself, and I'm just speaking out loud. Not necessarily, it could be to a person, right? But I'm just speaking out loud with leadership, speaking from the heart and from the navel with grit and charisma. I am sorry. I forgive. Thank you. I love you. Those are the words that free and liberate. I am sorry. I forgive you. Thank you. I love you. Just feel that. You could do this many times. And if you feel triggered, if you feel agitated, if you get emotional, it means you're having a breakthrough. It means that you're tapping into your inner freedom, your personal power, your strength. And if you need to cry, if you need to feel a certain way, continue to do it, because you're raising your vibration. You're basically helping yourself move on from what it is that is holding you back. Basically, you're creating a statement with the universe. I choose to awaken and activate higher levels of creative energy within me. I choose to evolve my creative energy, my creative choice. I'm sorry. I forgive you. Thank you, and I love you. See, right, when I said that this time, I saw my grandfather, and I could feel his guilt, his guilt towards his son. I could feel that came through. And just if you keep going, like you will feel again their inner freedom. You're setting this free. In this is very powerful. I'm sorry. I forgive you. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. I forgive you. Thank you. I love you. Now I saw my father's, I believe his grandmother, and she's with him when he crossed over to the other side, and she was saying, I love you. So you'll just feel different things. You just feel it, right? It may feel heavy at certain times, but just keep going with it, right? Just work through the block, whatever it is that you feel like, I just can't do that, right? Just keep going with it, right? Just keep going with it, and you'll dissolve any of these what we call curses, where it's just this anger and resentment and rage, greed or pridefulness, and that's created family members to create all these kinds of karma debt with other family members. So what you're doing is you're clearing the karmic debt that you may have in your ancestral lineage, your ancestral bloodline. You may have karmic debt that you could feel, right, when it comes to certain family members, right? So just doing that, you're clearing your karmic debt, and you might not even know what it is, and it's not important to know, but just we all have this karmic debt, and you're clearing it. You're clearing it. I'm sorry. I forgive you. Thank you. I love you. So basically, when you say the word thank you, again, all of this is activational. You're using your throat chakra to activate this paying of the karmic debt in the spiritual way, the spiritual sense, so that materially you can start to see more freedom in the way you can manifest, right? And this is something you may even feel more courageous to say this to your parents or your grandparents, or write a letter or whatever that is. This will help you to become more charisma. This will help you with your charisma, because some things you might need to say to them, or write a letter and then burn it, right, in a sacred prayer, in a ceremony. Thank you. Just feeling that you're basically, you're freeing up energy that was being used very destructively. You're freeing that energy up. And when you have free energy, right, think about free energy, like what you can do with freed up energy. You can transform immensely with all that freed up energy that's no longer kind of confined and caged in this anger or resentment or poverty, or this, I'm prideful, I can't forgive, stubborn, and then it's kind of, your energy is just being bottled up and just being, caged, right? I'm sorry, I forgive you, thank you, I love you. It's kind of like a farewell, right? It's what we say, a farewell, right? It's a farewell, and that farewell is actually a very powerful farewell. I see it as a farewell because you're giving yourself permission to move on. And you move on from whatever it is that's a part of the past. Like, I'm giving myself permission to move on from a behavior, from a pattern, from a mindset, from a lifestyle, whatever it is that's connected to this type of this ancestral line. Right, I'm willing to shed these layers. I'm willing to take off this fashion. I'm giving myself permission to invite in my soul star and start to function more from my soul star, right? Which is probably completely unique to whatever your ancestors have done in this earth, in this recent past. So now I would like to tap into the creating an altar. So we talked about the ancestors, how to connect with the ancestors. I gave you a whole ritual of how to really tap in, right? I gave you 2 meditations that you can really practice deeply, go into, to really create the clearing of the karmic debt. And even I can feel these ancestors. I can just feel a lighter energy, right? I'm using this light language, this light activation through the mantra, as well as through, again, they're both mantras basically, right? They're prayers, to really set free, right? I'm focusing on inner freedom through those prayers and activations. And now I'm going to talk about the altar. Right, we have an altar. You can have an altar actually in your home, right? I have several altars in different places in my home, smaller, some are bigger, and your altar. You also have an altar that's in your aura, your mind space, right? You have an altar, and that altar, again, it could be a color, it can be a shape, it can be an ascended being, it can be a teacher, it can be an ancestor. The altar can be a particular plant, right? Particular flower. You can have, the altar can be even a fragrance, a sort of smell. The altar can be a particular, like an herb. The altar can have a mantra. It can have a crystal or stone. It can have a piece of art. Like, your altar is basically your fifth house in astrology. Your altar is your fifth house. It's the place of creative pursuit. It's the place of creative life force, right? So when I connect with my altar, I've connected to my inner altar, the altar of my aura, the altar of my household mandala. And I've connected to that through many years. Since I was like 10 years old, I've had this collection, right? It's like, you can say you collect memories, but for me, this is like collecting of sacredness, like sacredness, right? Could be like a pine cone or something, that there's this sort of sacredness you did with it at that time in your life. So let's say, I was 12 years old and I found this giant acorn and I sort of started dancing with it, or I buried it and I put a little note with it, right? It said, like a wish fulfillment. That is something that can be in your altar, in your spirit altar, your aura altar, right? That will kind of be with you for, like, orbit you, right? For the rest of your life. Or if, you can rearrange it as well, right? Your altar, you can rearrange it. You can move things around, take things out. So when I connect with my altar, right, the altar is basically there to really sort of energize your attributes, your powerful attributes that you have on the soul level. So for me, what I have in the altar is Archangel Michael. I've had him in my altar, my mind's altar, my aura altar, since I was a little girl. And with him, I have this sort of, in this altar, I have this, like this sword of truth. That's also something I have in my altar. And again, you can even get like, kind of like a bowl, and you can get little objects that represent like a little sword. You can get a little statue of Archangel Michael, right? And you can put it in even like a sacred sort of bowl, and you can kind of visualize it as your aura, right? Which is your sphere, right? You're in the spherical energy, that is you. So I have that in my altar, Archangel Michael. He's been in my aura, in my altar, very, very profound, very profoundly for many years, many incarnations. So I had the sword of truth. The sword of truth, also the sword of, kind of like the samurai, that sword, which is about integrity. It's also about being a guardian, right? Or, being guarded, or having a guardian with me. I also have in my altar, I also have Mary Magdalene when it comes to trauma and healing trauma, sexual trauma. Also, Mary Magdalene's in my altar when it comes to female empowerment, and the sort of resurrecting of the femme consciousness on this planet, and sort of reintroducing it to the society that we, the paradigm of society that we know. So that's in my altar. Again, I actually have some statues, right? I also have Shiva. Shiva is about helping me balance the creative and destructive force, because I have a fire. I'm very fiery, so if I'm too fiery, I can burn my house down, right? So Shiva is in my altar to help me balance it out, right? You want to have heat, right? It's nothing wrong with being a hothead, but you don't want to have too much heat and you burn up your whole house, right? You need to have just enough heat to cook your meal. And if you have too much heat, you're going to not only cook your meal, you're going to cook your whole house down to ash, right? So Shiva gives that sort of balance, teaches, the balance of, being, having all this fire, but knowing how to kind of, cool it down. And I have a Shiva statue in one of my altars. I also have the crystals rose quartz, which is about embracing your inner child and healing that inner child. It also is like playfulness. It's also about romance, creativity, and I also have the color lavender. That's something that's very profound in me. The color lavender, I like to take a lavender bath. I like collect lavender petals, lavender leaves, and I put it in my bath. That's something I will have in my altar. I also have the white rose, The white rose has to do with the Holy Spirit, which is something I've always been drawn to, the Holy Spirit since I was basically in utero, right? The Holy Spirit is basically the white dove. So I'll have like a white dove in my mind, or I just kind of feel it, or also have I'll have two, what are these birds called? Swans. I'll have two swans in my altar, which represents union, your twin flame, divine, sacred divine masculine, sacred divine feminine, merging, right, with the highest love, divine love, unconditional love. I also have in my altar ocean, like shells, because I am a very much healed by the ocean. The motions are so healed by the ocean. So again, I will have so many things on my altar, right? So many different symbols, so many different little tokens, so many different colors and shapes, right? And I'll have the mandala of for example, a geometric sort of depiction of the planet Mercury, because I have a strong Gemini mind. So that is about teaching me how to work with the mind, right? That Mercury mind, right? It's about, being a master of your own mind. That's something I have in my altar through a geometric shape of Mercury. Also, I have a mantra, right? I'll have a mantra, a sacred mantra, right? That I'll have in my altar as well. That will be like, for some people, it's Waheguru. For me, I have the Karuna, is something that stays with me, consistently kind of stays with me, or Apsai Yehoah. And you can have, I also have the color red for fierceness, for being grounded. I'll also have, I'll have tree, I'll have earth element. I'll have earth element all over my altar. Like I love like skin of bark, right? I love skin of bark, putting in the altar everywhere, skin of bark. I like it. I would have wood everywhere if I could. I love wood, right? And that's about being grounded. That's about being, connected to the earth, right? So you can make and build and manifest, right? Again, these are all things that you can gather in your own altar just through paying attention, right? I gathered most of this stuff through my adventures in nature. Through, you spend time in nature, which, in the ancient time, not so ancient times, but that's where we're meant to be. That's where we really start to tap into, our gifts and who we are, right? And that's where we really start to tap into the ancestors and the altar, because we all have an altar. We all have an altar that is uniquely us. That's made of ancestors, made of colors and mandalas, and made of archangels, made of animal sort of totems, right? Made of particular plants. And all of it really showcases how multidimensional we are, right? Even a fragrance. There's the fragrance of, fragrance of clover. That is something that is in my altar as well, the clover. So now I'm going to connect with, I'm going to ask the ancestors what, how can you best help your altar, right? I'm going to pull a card, right? Because I feel guided to. What is in your altar, right? I'll ask what's in your altar. Ancestors, the highest vibration of love. What is in the altar of those who are watching this? What is in the altar? It's also getting a glimpse into, again, your purpose, right? Your life lesson, your past lives, your Shastric record. Everything I've mentioned in my altar, again, there's even more, right? I have the white flame. I have a white candle in my altar, right? I have the deep blue, like gas stove blue, royal blue in my altar, right? I have silk. I have deep, like indigo silk in my altar, which represents wisdom, right? And I also have the triangle shape, which represents, the Merkaba, right? The Cabal. Could even lifetimes of study in the Cabal and esoterics. And the selenite, as well as the purification that's in the altar. So you can just journal, you can just share this, you can even create your own video, right, of what's in your altar. And what comes through when you channel will be, you'll be mesmerized. Even other people, you can channel what's in other people's altars, and you'll be mesmerized by the colors, shapes, leaves, or plants, animals that you find. For me, I have the horse in my altar, which is about stamina and about leadership, right? And also emotionality. I also have the Hawaiian goddess energy, the Hawaiian goddess, in the altar as well. So let's see what's in your altar. For some of you guys, wow, let's see, the altar, you have Mary Magdalene. So a lot of you have like white candle in your altar, right? Or you also have this color pink. You can, get a cloth this color pink in your altar, right? This soft pink energy, Mary Magdalene. Love yourself, others in every situation, no matter what the outward appearance may be. So you also have lavender. You see lavender in the back, right, in your altar. So this is unconditional love. So unconditional love is in your altar, right? Again, and that's going to help you. It's about you helping yourself, right? Putting that around you is like putting a skill or talent in your aura that will just work for you. You don't even need to do anything. It'll just work for you. Wouldn't you love it to have just Mary Magdalene work for you, right? Because she will, right? That's kind of that's what infinity is. And then Ishtar, boundaries. Love yourself enough to say no to others' demands on your time and energy. So Ishtar, you have this kind of warrior in the altar, right? You may even have this Ishtar in your altar, right? This is an Egyptian sort of goddess. This is like you may even have something Egyptian in your altar, right? You may even have an Egyptian ancestor, right? And this is about boundaries. So you may even want to put something in your altar that is symbolic for boundaries. Like you could put like a little fence in your altar that represents boundaries. Or even like a sword, right? Kind of like a sword or a shield. You could get like a little silver tiny shield that represents boundaries, and you can kind of put it in your altar, right? Or put it in your bowl, right? Your sacred bowl of truth, right? And then the last card we have is prosperity, is abundantia. That is, the universe is pouring its abundance out to you. Be open to receiving. So you may want to have the planet Jupiter, or a picture of Jupiter, a little statue of Jupiter in your altar, or the color marigold, or the color, you can see this sort of gold color. And also you can even put coins in your altar, like international coins. I have like international coins to represent wealth, right? Wealth is not just, it's internationally. So that's something that you can put in your altar to really enhance your energy, enhance your creativity. And also you can put in your altar receptivity. You could put in an affirmation that you write down. I am receptive. I am available. I am open. I am ready. And also you see this deep purple too. You can put that in your altar as well. So this goddess energy too, right? This goddess energy, you can put that in your altar as well. I'm going to ask what else is in your altar using another oracle deck. Okay. And for many of you, you also have an instrument in your altar as well. So some of you may play an instrument. So you could even have an instrument that's in your altar, in your mind's altar, your aura's altar. You can even have get a little sort of, I don't know, wooden made instrument, right? Like a tiny little replica or something, and put it in your altar. For some of you, you play percussion instruments. I'm seeing percussion instruments, and that's something that is very, very soul activational for you. And that brings you a lot of prosperity. Okay, so we're going to tap into what else is in your altar. What else is in the altar? What else is in the altar? So we have another card come out. Again, we're looking at our altar. Why do we want to create an altar? We want to create an altar to get more connected to life, our creative force, right? We create an altar so that we can become more lively, more connected to what we're here and why we're here and what we're doing and how we're going to do it and the support we need to do it as well. We all need encouragement. We all need the angels and ancestors to work for us, right? So you have Archangel Zachiel. So you may have Archangel Zachiel in your altar. Compassion. Soften your heart with respect to this situation, all the people involved, including yourself. So some of you guys are Reiki masters. You see the Reiki? So I'm seeing you could have Reiki in your altar. You could have the Reiki certification in your altar, right? That's something you're very proud of. That's something that you've worked hard for. I'm seeing lavender, deep lavender. That's something you could have in your altar as well, that deep lavender color. And wings, golden wings. That could be symbolic for some of you guys, deceased loved ones. Like you could have, that could be symbolic for a great grandmother, right? Who had this gold wings. Maybe she would make wings, right? Out of clay, right? Some of you also have ceramics in your altar. This is all about you getting in touch with how creative you are, right? In so many ways. So compassion, right? And compassion, that can be in your altar seen as when you see, again, like a white dove. Compassion, that Holy Spirit. And the next card, we have moon cycles, Archangel Hanuel. You may have Archangel Hanuel in your altar. And notice how the moon affects your energy manifestations and capitalize upon these cycles. So you may have a picture of the moon in your altar, or a picture of a particular moon, like a particular new moon or full moon. And you also have this blue, this deep blue, this gentle blue as well. And this white dove, we see 3 white doves, so the Trinity. I'm also seeing a red rose. I'm also seeing pearls. I'm also seeing a sort of mirror as well, an old mirror belonging to like a grandmother. I'm also seeing like a bracelet that could be belonging to the grandmother as well, right? I'm also seeing grandmother because I'm seeing this woman as almost like a grandmother presence. So I could have a picture of your grandmother who had maybe like gray hair at one point, but was maybe a brown woman, very beautiful woman in her elderly years. She was very, very elegant, very, very creative, very, very soulful as well. So that's also another thing in your altar. And then we also see counsel. Archangel Azrael. Archangel Azrael could be in your altar. You are a natural counselor, and many people benefit from your guidance and reassurance. So you may have in your altar like a psychology degree. In your altar, you may even have counseling in your altar, in the way that you have ideas. You have a sort of program that you're creating involving counsel. Also, when it comes to the altar, you also have shapes and colors that represent sacred geometry or represent the crown chakra. I see you may even have a crown in your altar that represents your crown chakra. Is so expansive. You see that our crown chakra, that Akashic record, the arc line, powerful. So a lot of you have this sort of, you have a very, you have a lot of light activation, a lot of light being, a lot of light code, a lot of sort of light healing, right? Light healing in your altar as well. That is a part of you. It's a part of who you are. So that is really about the, that's about the, we talked about the ancestors, and we talked about your altar. And again, I shared with you, you can pull cards for yourself, right? You can pull cards and you can ask, you can say, Spirit guides, what's in my altar, right? You can ask what's in my altar. And I use this deck, Archangel Oracle cards by Doreen Virtue. And I also used Goddess Guidance Oracle cards by Doreen Virtue. And I just literally, you can just pull cards and ask, okay, spirit guides, ancestors, what is in my altar, right? What is in my altar, right? What can I put in my altar? And if you want to build an altar, go ahead. You can build an altar in the north, south, east, west, and all in both the 4 directions, right? And having an altar in the 4 directions of you is basically, you are blessing this planet. You're blessing the many facets of you, the totality of you, right? And in each altar, north, south, east, west, you'll have different, right? You'll have a section of spirituality, your abundance or prosperity, or money or career stability. You have one for your family. You'll have one, your family, ancestors, children, self-love, and then you'll have one for total creativity, which is life purpose, ambition, drive, education, right? Right? So I recommend you getting to know the altar of you, getting to know what these are the 4 altars: north, south, east, west. You have the altar of your heart, right? You have the altar of the heart, which is the family, and that's the ancestors, that's your inner child, that could be your children, that could be self-love, that could be the moon, right? The moon sort of intentions that you have with the different moons, new moons, full moons. It can also be about books. It could be everything that has to do with matter of the heart, love, right? Self-discovery, self-psychology. And then you have the what is out in the world. You have an altar, right? That's you in the world. That's about, you and your education and your career, right? And your life purpose, what you're doing and asserting, and you, right? Getting things done, making things happen for yourself. And then you have an altar of prosperity. That's your lineage. That's where you come from. That's behind you, your lineage. You have an altar of your lineage. It's prosperity. That's wealth. That's knowledge. It's higher education. That's your spirit guides, these archangels that are with you, right? And then you have what is in front of you, which is the altar of your creativity. And that has to do with your adventure. That has to do with your gifts, your talents. That has to do with your individuality, your uniqueness. It has to do with you being dynamic and explosive and expansive, right? So get to know these 4 directions. So you can think to the right or the left of you is the matter of the heart altar. Again, your inner child. It could be children, parents, ancestors, intentions, the moon. It could be flowers. It could be plants, animals, right? That's the heart. That's the left. The right of you is your career, you out in the world, you making things happen, like your plan, your strategy, your goal. You have it written down, right? Your education, your degrees, your what you're doing, right? What you're gonna do, right? What is your organization? What's your plan, right? You're making things happen, right? What are you gonna make happen, right? And then behind of you, think of the lineage, right? That's prosperity, that's wealth, that that is that's these sort of archangels, the spirit guides that are with you, right? And then you have ahead of you again creativity, your creative expression, like what makes you, your spirituality, like your uniqueness, your freedom, like this is who I am, my individuality, like I don't give a fuck, this is me, like that type of thing, right? And you go ahead and do that. And again, you can use these decks that I used to connect with, okay, the matters of the heart, white candle, right? It's all about you connecting with the esoterics of you, right? And this is a part of the Isis lineage, the Isis mystic school, is knowing how to connect with the symbolism through color and sound and shape and through form and through animal and through through spirit, through the physical, through the smelling, through the seeing, through the tasting. All of that is you becoming more sensual, you getting in touch with the different forms, the different dimensions, the different sensual sort of captivation you can have. And that will help you to really come more into your soul embodiment, which is what resonance ritual is about. So, and the more grounded you are in that root chakra, meaning the more grounded in that sort of life, meaning you're living a life that is connected, right? Not just, fantasizing and then you look around, your life has nothing to do with that, right? When you get more grounded in it, it becomes an actual routine, it becomes a lifestyle. That's when you're really going to start to, you're going to start to feel more belonging. Like, I belong, I'm here, look at me, roar, right? I have my power, right? And a lot of people, they're up in fantasy land, or they feel completely delusioned because they're not even trying to put it in their physical life. They're not even making a routine or a lifestyle. They're not even trying to make money off of it. They're just like, right, in the clouds or something, but they're not actually trying to build it. They're not actually trying to get to know it. They're not actually trying to create a routine, a lifestyle with it. And that's where the disconnect comes. And that's why a lot of people feel like, why is it not manifesting? It's because you're not getting into routine and a lifestyle within you. Right? You're not getting it actually into the form and the shape of you. Right? It's just some, imagine La La Land type of thing. And that's not what we want. The Isis, we can say the Isis occult, right? People don't like that word, but mystic school sounds kind of cool. And it's really about not just La La Land, let's go into, some altered state of consciousness, right? And to do that for 8 hours. It's really about, let's get some of that wonder here on this planet, right? Let's just not meditate 8 hours a day and then look around and we're all like, none of that is actually around us. Like, we want that around us, right? So I had a vision, you can say I have a vision of a dove. Oh, I just saw a dove outside my yard. Right? You want to, it's not just, it's about the altar practice. The ancestral practice is about you connecting that with the root chakra, right? It's like, I'm not playing around. Like, I'm having that vision of myself so that I can experience that in the physical. Like, what's the point of being physical, right? So it's like working towards the dream, making money off of it. Right? And how do you do that? You start to create a lifestyle around it. You start to create a routine with it. You start to organize it, make a plan. You start to execute. You start to put it out there. You start to express yourself with it. You start to educate yourself with it. You start to, collaborate with it and get it involved in the world and what's going on around you, right? So that's what I wanted to share with you guys for this resonance ritual. And thank you, and somehow.